Hello dear students, today we are going to deal with lesson number 43, Yehezkel Dror, Public Policy Making. Now let us look at the objectives. After completion of this lesson, you will learn the biography of Yehezkel Dror, Dror on policy knowledge, the basic thesis by Dror, models of public policy making, Dror's optimal model of policy making, three principal phases of the optimal model, policy making under adversity, relevance of Dror's work globally and in India in today's world, and in the last we will deal with criticism. Introduction. Yehezkel Dror is a professor of political science and Wolfson Professor of Public Administration, Emeritus at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He has been currently working on the Homo sapiens philosophy and improving global leadership. He has authored 15 books published in 13 languages and has written many papers in leading journals. He is an honorary member of the Club of Rome. Now let us have a look at the biography of Yehezkel Dror. Arthur Yehezkel Dror was born on 12th August 1928 in Vienna, Austria. He immigrated to Mandate, Palestine with his family in 1938. He graduated from the Hebrew Reilly School in Haifa in 1946. He served in the Israeli army from 1948 to 1951. Dror holds a BA and a Magister Juris from the Hebrew University and LLM and SJD, Doctor of Judicial Science, qualifications from Harvard University. He was a faculty member of the Hebrew University's Department of Political Science from 1957 until his retirement and was also head of its Public Administration Division from 1964. In the year 1968, Dror joined the RAND Corporation as a senior staff member. The RAND think tank was instrumental in planning America's strategy in the Cold War. He was appointed as a senior policy analyst and planning advisor to the Israeli Ministry of Defense in the year 1975. He is a pioneering author in the fields of management, policy science, public administration, capacities to govern leadership, and security issues. In the year 1989, he took the post of senior professor in policy analysis in the European Institute of Public Administration, the Netherlands. Now let us have a look at influential works of Dror. The first being Public Policy Making Re-examined in the year 1968, the second being Design for Policy Science, published in the year 1971, and Ventures in Policy Sciences in the year 1971. Dror won the Rosilio Award in 1965 for the greatest contribution to the advancement of the study and practice of public administration in Israel. Dror on policy knowledge. There is a magnificent gap between the ways individuals and institutions make policies and the available knowledge on how policies can be best made. Dror has tried to formulate on an optimal model comprising policy knowledge and power which need to be integrated. He has tried to bring public policy making to the forefront as a policy science. Dror differentiates between the knowledge required for policy and that for policy making. Policy knowledge comprises the following: organizational theory, how organizational structure operates; personal development, ways to improve the quality of the people engaged in policy making; intelligence studies and information theory; collecting and using theory; political science, coordinating and integrating different policies; operations research and decision sciences; coordinating and integrating different policy making units; system theory, analyzing, improving and managing complex systems. Now let us have the basic thesis by Dror. Dror based his thesis of policy making on the following 5 propositions. Science. He considered science as a creator of problems because of the scientific revolution and the transformation that it has caused in the social structures and in the heights to which men can aspire together with other changes in culture and society have made continual improvement of public policy making necessary. Such policy making will lead to satisfactory results and progress to assure survival. Policy knowledge. The amount and quality of available policy knowledge is on the increase. Quality. The quality of the best possible policy making increases as a function as the policy knowledge increases. Improvement. In reality, the quality of actual public policy making improves as a very slow rate because of various barriers. Actual rate of increase, the actual public policy making falls under both what could it be and what it must be. Definition of public policy making. Dror defined public policy making as a very complex, dynamic process whose various components make different contributions to it. It decides major guidelines for action directed at the future by the governmental organs to achieve what is in the best public interest by the best possible means. Now let us have a look at models of public policy making. In Dror's analysis of public policy making, models occupy an important place. Dror considers the normative model as a tool for systematically analyzing public policy making as a basis for the criteria and standards needed to evaluate policy making and as a guide for formulating effective proposals for improvement that are found to be desirable. He examines existing normative models critically and suggests that they fall short of the requirements. He identified 6 normative models of policy making, they being the pure rationality model, the economically rational model, the sequential decision model, the incremental change model, the satisfying model, and the extra rational process model. Now let us have a look at Dror's optimal model of policy making. As normative models have many limitations, Dror in his book Public Policy Making Re-Examined suggests the optimal model integrating and supplementing the strength of various models at same time avoiding their weaknesses. He claims that his optimal model is superior to all the existing normative models of decision making and is combination of economically rational model and extra rational model. Dror's optimal model is a rationalist model of policy making. It has, according to Dror, 5 major characteristics. They are, the first being it is qualitative and not quantitative. It contains both rational and extra rational elements. It is basic rational to economically rational. It is concerned with meta policy making. It contains built-in feedback. Yehezkel Dror, the year 1969, finds Lindblom's incrementalist model of decision making quite conservative and unsatisfactory. He believes that incremental approach is just as it creates a gap between those who have more power and those who have little power. The latter category of people will find it difficult to bring about change. In place of incremental and rational models, Dror offers an alternative model which seeks to accept the need for rationality, need for introduction of management techniques for enhancing rationality of decision making at low levels, policy science approach for dealing with complex problems requiring decisions at the higher levels and need to take account of values and rational elements in decision making. Dror's aim is to increase the rational content of government and build into his model the extra-rational dimensions of decision making. Dror calls it normative optimalism, which combines the elements of the rational model with extra-rational factors that are excluded from the pure rationality model. He argues what is needed is a model which fits reality while being directed towards its improvement and which can be applied to policy making while motivating a maximum effort to arrive at better policies. Thus, Dror presents a modified form of the rational model, which can move policy making in more rational directions. Policy analysis, he argues, must acknowledge that there is a role of extra-rational understanding based on tacit knowledge and personal experience. The three principal phases of optimal model. Dror says that the optimal model has three principal phases, that is meta-policy making, and post-policy making. Each of the stages are closely interconnected by channels of communication and feedback. Each of the stages in turn has a number of phases. He argues that the aim of the analysis is to include decision makers to expand their thinking to deal better with a complex world. Thus, in place of a purely rational model, Dror puts forward a more complex model of about 17 stages, which include the following main stages. The first stage will be consisting of the meta-policy making stage, which will be having certain phases such as processing values, processing reality, processing problems, surveying, processing and developing resources, designing, evaluating and redesigning the policy making system, allocating problems, values and resources, and determining policy making strategy. The second being the policy making stage, which consists of sub-allocating resources, establishing operational goals with some order of priority, establishing a set of their significant values with some order of priority, preparing a set of major alternative policies including some good ones, preparing reliable predictions of the significant benefits and costs of the various alternatives, comparing the predicted benefits and cost of the various alternatives and identifying the best ones, and evaluate the benefits and costs of the best alternatives and deciding whether they are good or not. The third stage consists of post-policy making stage, which includes motivating the execution of policy, executing the policy, evaluating policy making, all phases after executing the policy, and communication and feedback channels interconnecting. Dror also considers the structural framework of public policy making and identifies a number of essential structural requirements for his model to be effective. To Dror, this 17-stage model operates at two interacting levels, that is rational and extra-rational. For example, in phase 1, the processing of values, decision making involves specifying and ordering values to be a general guide for identifying problems. At the rational and sub-phase, this involves gathering information on feasibility and opportunity costs, and at the extra-rational sub-phase, decision making will involve value judgments, tacit bargaining and coalition formation skills. In this, normative optimalism combines both descriptive in the real world decision making is driven by rational and extra-rational aspects, and prescriptive, which includes improving both the rational and extra-rational aspects approaches. This brings a radical reform of the public policy making process. According to Dror, this brings about changes in the personnel, that is politicians, bureaucrats and experts, and processes that includes to improve systematic thinking and integrating experts into policy. Thus, his main aim to analyze the real world, which involves values and different perceptions of reality, and creates an approach that combines core elements of the rational model with extra rational factors. Dror advocates the speedy development of the policy science and adequately to solve the critical problems of society. In his words, policy science can be partly described as a discipline that searches for policy knowledge, that seeks general policy issue knowledge and policy making knowledge and integrates them into a distinct study. Dror is of the concerted view that a long-term strategy to improve public policy making is necessary for human progress. Dror comes close to Loswell, but there is a significant point of difference between the two. While Loswell saw the policy science as having a role in enlightenment, emancipation, and democratization, Dror seemed to have very little regard for the public in policy making. To quote Dror, but if the success of democracy depends on the people's ability to judge the main policy issues on their merits, then democracy would surely have perished by now. His model of 17 stages is seen as a cycle which has its rational and extra rational components. It may be of relevance to point out that the real strength of Dror's analysis is not in terms of the prescription dimension of his model, so much as in the framework it provides to analyze the policy making process. Now let us have a look at the policy making under adversity. Yehezkel Dror published another book, Policy Making Under Adversity, regarding public policy making in the year 1986, which deals with the theory and practice of policy making under adversity. He called it Maze Policy Behavior, which needs more research and study. He designed policy principles for handling adversity because a policy in normal economic and social environs is workable, but in adverse situations the strategy need to be modified. The policy principles required to be followed in adverse situations serves as a convenient bridge between the responses to adversity and the design of policy making pattern system. Relevance of Dror's work globally and in India in today's world. Yehezkel Dror's work has been a pioneering work in policy sciences. His work is relevant to modern times, whether globally or in India. Here are some areas which are relevant to public policy making. The government's policy influence the citizens in their day-to-day life, and policy science is a new response to shape human destiny through systematic knowledge structured rationally and organized creativity. Organized creativity implies that if regular processes are not useful in making a policy, the officials must either be creative themselves or take professional help of experts. Human institutions and habits in the government will be altered by policy sciences for futuristic needs, thereby enhancing the policy making capacity of the governments. The scientific community and policy practitioners must use the latest technology and information to formulate policies by choice and not by chance. The third being, public policy making can be improved by integration of fragmented knowledge because of the problem of coordination in the governments. They may have the requisite knowledge, but it cannot be used unless it becomes an integrated whole. Knowledge must be relevant to the environment, the control of society, and self-control. The issue is that knowledge is not developed enough to be integrated, but if this realization can be achieved, it will improve public policy making. The fourth area being, policy sciences is an emerging discipline which is directed towards social relevance. Many public administration departments in universities have started public policy schools. Scientific knowledge and training in policy sciences will prepare experts who can be hired for the public policy making process. However, Dror lamented that there was a dearth of research in this area and more needs to be done. Now let us have some criticism on Yehezkel Dror's public policy making. Dror's proposition for the development of a new discipline of policy sciences is a bold attempt at integration of knowledge, but the total approach tends to be academic in perspective with poor operational utility. Dror's call for the use of extra rational abilities in his optimal model is criticized from the standpoint of the present state administrative studies. Dror did not pay attention to the problem of controlling the extra rationally able person from controlling and destroying others. He deals with the problem somewhat casually, thus giving a handle to the counter reformists who are ready to credit the administrator with a feel for things and the art of administration. Dror's major contribution is meta-policy making. From this, he goes over to simply describe the existing structure but fails to underpin the problem of special research into deliberate structural change and their impact on policy. Research in this area is very essential as the existing literature only concentrates on the resistance to change and not how to bring changes in the structures. The discussion of Dror on policy science is conditioned mostly by the experience of Western societies and of Israel. But an analysis of such a comprehensive subject cannot be complete without adequate examination of experiences of the third world countries and the socialist world. Dror's discussion suffers from vagueness and repetition. This could be partly because of his hastiness to develop a new science and partly due to overcommitment to the concept. Now let us conclude. Dror viewed policy sciences as a response to face the challenge of shaping the future through improved knowledge, structural rationality, and organized creativity. As the purpose of policy sciences is to contribute to the improvement of public policy making. Policy science as supradisciplinary effort based on behavioral sciences and management studies has an immense contemporary relevance. Although the analysis of Dror suffers from certain shortcomings, the whole approach has immense academic relevance to the student of social sciences, for it is a bold attempt to break the artificial barriers created a new knowledge. A stage has reached where social phenomenon must be examined by social scientists in its totality. Policy science is a significant and right step in this direction. Thank you.